it seems the current administration is trying to reshape Norwalk into a certain Stanford city center. And that's not what Norwalk is. We have 5 small towns that each have their own identity, their own culture, etc., and they're not all alike. So all of this transit-oriented districts around the train stations and putting up these massive, large apartment buildings is stealing away from that small town feel here in Norwalk. And that's something we need to combat and prevent from happening. Let alone, we don't have the infrastructure to support all of these buildings. Our sewage overflows constantly into the Long Island Sound, which is a major hazard, and that's a local, state, and federal issue. So we need to do better for our environment and be greener. You know, having all of these large developments are not a conscious effort to protect our environment here. That sewage plant is very close to our Norwalk beach. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be swimming in sewage or other people's waste, so to speak. Beyond that, the most important things that my campaign is going to address when we get elected as for this administration is, number one, improve our schools. Right now, we have a 45% efficiency rating for our math and reading skills. I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound like a #1 city in Connecticut. We're more like 152nd as far as all the school districts in Connecticut, but our mayor currently likes to tout that we're the #1 big city for other comparable areas. Well, comparable areas are right around us. We have Wilton, New Canaan, Darien, and Westport. Those are the top 4 out of the 5 in the state as far as education. And they spend far less than we do on educating our kids. So we need to do better there. It seems that the education system gets more money every single year, $10 or $20 million year after year, with the exception of last year, because we got $28.5 million from the federal COVID money to support our schools. However, we need to spend that money better. And so that's improving our curriculum, protecting our schools from radical curriculum that diminishes our education system, and make sure that our kids can read and write. That's #1 economic opportunity, is proper education. So we need to deliver that for our kids in Norwalk. Public safety is a very huge thing. With all these developments that are happening in our city, with the explosion of population growth, the explosion of the availability of apartments, we haven't addressed the police department and the fire department in the last 10 years. They stayed the same while the population has increased, while the amount of buildings increased. They're responding to more calls with less resources, less officers. We have officers and fire department staff that are on overtime who are doing 12, 15-hour days. Would you like to do 12, 15-hour days responding to domestic violence, responding to fires and other problems and calls from 911? No, it's taxing on their bodies. So we need to increase their size, both fire and police, to respond to the demands of this city. That's priority #1 with education. So those 2 things are the most important in my campaign. And then the final one that I'll talk about tonight is our traffic issue and our roads and our sidewalks. Okay. Planting a couple trees on a road that's less traveled and out of the way. I know exactly which street that is that the photo op was taken with. I think it was 18 trees they planted. That's supposed to encourage more walking and safer traffic. I'd be surprised if 15 cars drove that road a day. So it's not that. We need to fix our roads and address our traffic control systems to properly put in lighting systems that are, first of all, coordinated. I don't know about you guys, but when I drive around Norwalk from West Norwalk down to South Norwalk, it seems the lights are way out of sequence and it takes far longer than it should. Not only that, but our sidewalks are in disrepair all over the city. I hate walking along sidewalks that have cracks and I can twist my ankle. If I'm in a hurry, that could certainly happen. Our roads contribute to the traffic problem because people can't drive a normal speed limit without hitting a pothole or hitting a exposed man cover. I've done that multiple times. I have low profile tires. I've popped about 15 tires in Norwalk. Thank God I bought the tire package, so no cost in that. But that remains a big issue. So we're going to properly spend the money that we get from property taxes. And let me tell you this right now, unfortunately, property taxes are going to increase in one way and one way only, either the mill rate or the reevaluation that's coming in 2 years. You know, COVID surprisingly had saved Connecticut's real estate market, and as a result, we've had 25% increase in our property values here in Norwalk because New Yorkers are fleeing the communist state of New York. So we took in those refugees, and a lot of New Yorkers left to greener pastures in Florida and Tennessee. As a result, one way or the other, that mill rate's going up or property values are going to be reevaluated in 2 years. So don't let any candidate tell you, hey, I'm going to keep property taxes low. We'll fight it as much as we can and make sure that we're doing a proper reassessment of the values if I'm in office. You can count on that. Fiscal responsibility is going to be huge with that as well. So we're going to take care of the budget. We're going to eliminate a lot of wasteful spending. And one of the last things I'll say is, anybody know that City Hall is not fully operational right now?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Is there any reason for that?
No.
Only 18 months later.
Anybody realize that Norwalk Superior Court is still closed since March 2020? What's the reason for that? We've got Stanford handling all of our
They got rid of
our
staff.
business. That's one thing, yes. But we are forcing people, and not all people go to court for criminal matters, right? So you have housing, you have landlord disputes, you have health and safety, you have the child care, you have divorces. We're forcing all these people to go to Stanford. Now, I don't know about you, but minority communities as well as low-income communities, they may or may not have transportation, and our public transportation in Connecticut is a hassle to get to Stanford. So we need to do better, reopen the Superior Court, reopen City Hall, so businesses, especially our contractors in Norwalk, our homeowners, our landlords, they can get the permits they need without wasting money, because right now, my girlfriend's father is a contractor, and it's costing him money because City Hall is not operational. It takes 2 weeks to get an answer by email or phone call. That's absurd.
They don't answer the phone either.
Exactly. We already paid our taxes for City Hall. We should be getting the services that we paid for. So I will make sure that happens when I'm elected, and City Hall will never close, not for a virus, not for disaster. City Hall will always be available to every single Norwalk resident under my administration. So thank you for your time. Happy to take any questions.